Time for some daily game design. I think for some reason, I think I said that yesterday, at least on yesterday's stream, in the the date I put was 9/11. Today is 9/11. And you know what? I'm more tired than usual. I'm not sure what the difference is. I think so. This has been almost like my own sleep study, right? But I think I was dehydrated last night. I went to bed dehydrated. I woke up this morning, and I think I can be kind of sensitive to dehydration because my neck is pretty messed up. And so when I'm dehydrated, everything tightens up, headaches come a lot faster, and like I actually, I mean, I suppose everybody feels it, but I really feel it, and I think I'm pretty sensitive to it. Um, anyway, so uh, the other thing about this morning is that there's a playtesting session for virtual playtesting. Now, actually, I'll show you. So virtual playtesting is a best kept secret. Actually, it's not a secret at all. You know, as I talked with a designer working on their first game last night. I interact with people on Board Game Design Lab who are not necessarily new to the process, but um, they don't use Tabletop Simulator. So I use Tabletop Simulator. That'll come up in a minute or two. But virtual playtesting is really where, like, I met some amazing people. I got incredible feedback for my games, and they meet twice, sometimes three times a week. And for a long time, I couldn't join because I didn't have the yeah, I couldn't join because I didn't. I'm not sure what's going on here. That was crazy. I didn't have the sleep schedule for it. So, you know, um, I would be like waking up around 7. I'd go to sleep really late and then wake up around 7. Well, they start at 7. And the other thing was that it's morning for me. I think it's evening in the UK right now. So it's great time for testing for them, but then I'm going into school. So there was a conflict. These days, there's obviously still a conflict, but I can try to show up more regularly, partly because at least I'm awake. At least I'm awake. That's the main thing. And I have, yeah, at least I'm awake and I'm making progress in the morning. It's not just like I'm dead, just waking up. I actually have things done. So, anyway, this is it. They're most active in a Discord server. So if you haven't joined it and you're interested in design, please join it. It's worth it. I'll even describe the system just a little bit. So, in how it works, and this is Chris Baki, who is one of the main organizers. It's him and another guy named Ian, and I want to say David Digby is now. I can't tell. There was somebody that handles things on Wednesdays. That's not what I wanted. I'm looking for the spreadsheet. I think it's in Welcome, actually. Here's the spreadsheet. So what happens is you go into the spreadsheet, you find today's date, which is Thursday, September 11, and both of those guys are there. So these are the two guys that gave me feedback on Sugar Shack last time, and Sugar Shack fell apart instantly. It was a no-go. It was a disaster. And anyway, since then, I want to say, is that just a week? It feels like that can't be just a week, but it might be. I can't remember if I joined on Thursday or Monday of last week. But anyway, I applied their changes. Their changes made sense to me right away, partly because their suggestions made sense to me, partly because I had played around with the ideas, at least a key idea that they had offered. I'd already played around with it, and then I designed it out of the game. Bringing it back brought everything together, brought the whole game together, and that is worker placement. But it's not worker placement. I can't think. I don't know. I'm thinking of architects, for instance. Architects, where you're still playing one meeple at a time, but you're building up power in certain, in like different placement spots. So I can't think. At the moment, I can't think of a game where the different placement spots require different numbers. I'm sure there's tons of them. I just can't think of them right now. I'm not. What I mean also is I'm not sure I've ever played one, but I bet I have. I just can't remember. Anyway, I don't know that I'll have time for a full stream today. I'm like waffling. I really want to join the playtesting session. Yeah, because I'm at that point. So I'm gonna put in my name here. So this is the process. So just enter some details. This is a who's the target player? A Euro player. I think light Euro, right? Because it's definitely in the efficiency puzzle world. It is worker placement, and we'll just call it engine building. Because I think when I posted in Board Game Design Lab yesterday, I added resource management, but I think that's fine. Okay, important things. How much has changed since last time? Important things. Added worker placement back in. And balancing of the economy. That was the big task this last week. So was balancing the economy. And I'll drop into Gemini super quick and just show you. So based on, like, inspired by yesterday's stream where I had Mike, I was dialoguing with Mike about how to evaluate the strength of different of actions, or how to find the value, identify the value of the resources, because there are 3 resources. There are actions, and then there there are syrup cubes, and there's money. So in talking with him, I recognized that it was the Closterby Market that really helped me nail down value, like how value worked. And I actually reflected on that for a little while yesterday after stream. So I wrote down some notes and a reflection on what it took for me to start understanding how to notate, how to conceptualize strength or power here. And just realizing that I don't have a baseline. I don't have a component that necessarily operates like a baseline, a single component. What I had to do was find equivalencies and then almost make like another have another concept to help me. Because, or not another concept, but just another, almost like an object, an abstract object, which is power. So I have 1 worker, but 1 worker equals 2 power. 1 cube equals 1 power. 1 money equals 1 power. And so it was really cool to like dig in and try to understand how my um, how my game was operating, assuming these aspects of the economy. So it was also kind of interesting to me that, anyway, I'll come back to that, but I do have to watch the time. This is going to be a shorter stream. Um, Actually, let me jump into Gemini. So I took these concepts into Gemini, and I've been working with Gemini occasionally, not on this version of the game, but there were times when I would dialogue with Google Gemini just to process through ideas, or to have Gemini start to compile the ideas, draft a rulebook. That's partly what I did yesterday after stream. So I actually also asked Gemini to describe the game mathematically, and once we identified where power was coming from, then I could see it was a lot easier to notate that, to write that down. So yeah, you can describe everything in terms of power production, right? Or cost. So the starting side of the Sugar Shack, it doesn't cost anything necessarily. You can pay to increase production, but at least at the very beginning, or just any time you're operating the Sugar Shack, you don't have to pay. So you do get 1 cube, which equals 1 power. So production without any added, without pumping it for a turn, it's just a +1. Actually, let me look at Closterby Market. So this was the best. This is what established the definition for the game. This is what created the baseline, was Closterby Market. What's interesting to me about this too is that there was a time when there was randomness in Closterby Market. I cut you would go to the market in the same way you would activate it somehow. I think originally you had to drive there, but of course things have changed. So now you activate it with, or even not long ago, you'd activate it with a worker, and then you would draw a customer card. So that customer card would have a range of values from 1 to 3. It was eventually 1 to 3. And there was 1 3 card, 2 2 cards, and 3 1 cards. So you had some probability of X probability of gaining X money. I actually don't know how to. I'm not going to work on that little bit of math right now. Anyway, so there wasn't a stable value for Closterby Market, but when I reduced, when I eliminated those cards, the value stabilized, and so now we have a definition. And the idea is, let's see, it's 1 worker and 1 cube equals -3 power, because in this system, a worker is 2 power. So 1 worker equals 2 here, and then 1 cube is 1 power. So the total is -3 power. That's the cost. So you go to Closterby Market. Actually, I'm gonna see if I can get through a playtest here. I doubt I'll be able to, but we could get close. So the cost is 3 power, but then you get 3 money. Why was it 3? There was not a great reason for it when I first made that decision, but it turns out to be one of the more helpful decisions that I made in the whole process. Is just saying, let's just have it cost, or let's have it cost this and this, but the payout is 3. For whatever reason, that that ended up really working out. I'm also reminded that I was talking with a guy. I think I mentioned this. I was talking with a guy last night who who's working on his first game, and it's just this epic like battling game where there are elements of um, like hidden roles at the start of the game, and you have vendettas, and you're moving around, and there's this system, and there's a system where um, there's attack and defense, and he's got this really cool looking. I don't know. I think it's a card that would eventually be like cut out, maybe, or maybe there would be clear, um, like a see-through portion of the card, and so you line up the cards, and if there's any of the attacker's triangles showing through the card that's overlaying it or something, then he does damage. If not, then there's no damage. Like, and it's a kind of a cool looking thing, but I like I find it a little difficult to um, both celebrate that like this looks like you put a lot of work into it, and say something like, I think it might be better to start small. Like, go ahead and start small. I know you're enthusiastic. I know you're excited about this big, sweeping epic of a game, but it's probably good to start small. And so, he's got 100 cards designed. He's got like 200 in a spreadsheet, and that's what stood out to me last night is that um, I have Uncle Bill. Beard tomorrow or no beard, fun to guess. You never know, Uncle Bill. You never know. But see, what you've done is you've made me look at my laptop. I'm looking at the airplanes, as you say. So he's got all this stuff, right? And he was working on a spreadsheet, and I asked him, we were playing My Father's Work last night. This is my first time playing this big game that I thought was actually very impressive. We were having a nice time. I don't have time to reflect on it right now. But I was, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed this guy come in. He's got his laptop out, and he's working on a spreadsheet. Who works on a spreadsheet in a game store except for a designer? That's what I want to know. So I asked him, what are you working on? And okay, here's this game, and it's based on Heroscape, the kind of the terrain tiles of Heroscape and some other stuff. And he's got all this he's starting to work on artwork. He's 3D modeled these pieces that will fit together and that are the hexes of Heroscape, except that I think they fit together like puzzle pieces or something. So he's got this like in CAD or something. It's like it's a lot, whatever it is. And anyway, it was cool to learn about like what he's working on a little bit, and he's visiting. He's like a tree trimmer. He's doing some kind of tree work here for about a month. And anyway, all I can think with these guys, because I see this a fair amount now, as you can imagine, I've been doing this for a few years, and I felt it, I've done it, and now I see it a lot, where people love to go big at the start. Same thing at our game design meetups. These young guys that are really excited about their designs, and it's not that there are not good ideas, but the thing is to build up this whole. There's the lore. There's the multiple factions, all the asymmetry. There's all this stuff, but there's no confidence that anything about the game actually works. There's no confidence that there's anything, because there's no playtesting yet, or it's not really feedback time. Maybe they self-play test or something. But the thing is, they're doing a lot of moving forward without knowing if the game is any fun, if the core is any fun, or if it's interesting at all, or if it works. Don't know. And it's partly because you need to get it to the table. You need to get people to look at it and get feedback for it. So anyway, it's in seeing that and experiencing that, and then seeing games, very small games like Welcome to the Dungeon, No Thanks, Can't Stop, what is it, Take Five. There's card games all the way to, and this is the game I told him about yesterday. It's the game, The King is Dead. Completely blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. The King is Dead. It's a friend of mine, Omar, owned a copy, and he showed me this little game. It's a little map, and there's you're placing cubes on the map, and you've got a hand of cards. It's 8 cards, and in this game, The King is Dead, second edition, to be specific, the whole game, I think it plays up to 4. The whole game, you get 8 actions. That's it. You can either play a card or you can pass. That's it. That's all you get in the whole game. It's 8 actions. And so I was I was used to the idea that bigger is probably better until some of these games. And I realized how much a designer can just like shove into a small space. Compact, elegant, condensed, concentrated. All of this, just like these cool problems, these decisions, everything just somehow sucked together into this small space. Amazing. Like mind-blowing, right? And yeah, that you can create something so big that feels so big out of something so small. So those games really inspired me to just like simplify, cut back, work on small things. Actually, I think it's easier for me. I think some people, I want to say I mentioned this before, but I also recently just came up or just recognized the analogy that like some people write novels, some people write poems. I think I'm a poem writer, and I have been my whole life actually. I've written more poems than anything else I've created, probably. I haven't looked at those poems in a long time, but songs and poems. Right, and I've actually tried to do some world building. I've written some short stories that I was hoping could turn into something cool. But you know what? I'm so intimidated by those big things, like the commitment to a story. What is it going to take to have all the detail? What would it? What are the requirements to reach the richness that I'm interested in? And I think novel writing is not for me. That's too much. There's too much to keep track of. It's too big. The world is too big. And so I stick with poems. And I recognize that there are designers, there are game designers who are novel writers. Like this game we played last night, My Father's World. My Father's World. This is my father's world. Oh, my father's work. That, as far as I'm concerned, is a novel. And I assume it was all human written. And it's this big, there's like this narrative, branching narrative that's run by an app. And yeah, 20 years. Yeah, that's right. It could be an epic. I'm not doubting this guy actually. But when it comes to my style, what I recognized is I enjoy the compact. Partly because I can't process a whole lot of information somehow. But anyway, I feel like My Father's work, they built this huge thing. It's a euro with this massive layer of story over it. And there's decisions that take you down branching paths, and you, like, over 3 generations of time, three mega rounds, you make these choices, you build up your family and your estate, and then you do have an ultimate goal of like accomplishing. In my case, my character wants to build a teleportation device. So I'm continuing on the vision of my father, right? The initial vision from Gen 1. and it's cool. There's a lot of reading. There's they've got multiple expansion packs, so it's an epic. It is a novel, and I'm enjoying it. So I can have fun with these bigger experiences. But what really is magnetic to me, what really grabs me, is how do you get a big experience out of something small? How do you put somebody in perfect tension so they can see down the road, but they can't see down the road so far that they know what to do. They know exactly what to do. I think that's a cool problem, right? In a small space with a small amount of time, how can you build something like that? So in my view, this is more like poetry. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I can see that I'm attracted to 1 and 2 player games, card games, um, just things that are small. That's it. I just like things that are small. Anyway, Mike, I don't know if you heard a couple of my comments, but I really appreciate your input from yesterday and helping me get clear on what the value of things are, because that it affected a few things. I'll actually give you a couple examples. I don't think I'm going to get to a playtest. One thing is it helped me see or understand that the upgrades were all 8 money before. They're just 8, 8, and 8. Now they're 6, 10, and 8. And the reason that's the case is that in production, the Sugar Shack, you get a value of 1 for free, right? Everything else costs. You get a value of 1 power for free. With the garage, this one is a little more confusing for me, but the deal here is that you gain a barrel. That's like, it's a big deal. You're gonna get money for it, but you also have to fill it, right? You need cubes to do that, so that might cost you more. And then those opportunities diminish throughout the course of the round. And Farland Market, it's a big expense in terms of workers. So yes, there are huge payouts, but it takes a lot of energy to get there. Whereas if you upgrade the staff, that's just power 2, a clean power 2. Like, you're adding a whole worker to your operation, and 2 power every round is significant. And I needed to reflect that up here in the cost of the upgrades. So it was helpful to learn to think in this way, and it's applied here. Another example actually came in analyzing. Oh, it wasn't this one in particular. Not Flapjack Feast. There were 2. Here it is. Rolling Barrel. So I want to say Rolling Barrel was 3 cubes before. So anyway, learning to think of these Mayor's favorite cards in terms of their power. What is the power swing? This one is a lot clearer, actually. I reduced the cost in Market Monkey too. So I want to say Market Monkey was 10 to gain 14 and 1 worker. There also might have been one more cube here. But anyway, now it's possible to just enumerate what's going on. So it's -8 plus -1. So we're at 9 cost to gain, to net 3 plus 2. So it costs 9 to gain 5. To net 5. So anyway, that seems useful to know. Where's another? Oh, like here. This is a big deal. Actually, maybe I need to reevaluate this, because now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cost, right? Because of a cube is equal to 4 power. And so that's a discount of 4 in going to, wait, no. It's a discount of 100%. So of course the best value you would get is if you upgraded the staff card. But it costs 4 to get an upgrade that costs at least 6. So that's a plus 2, that nets 2. But then of course, then you know your production is ramping up, so maybe that gets a little more complicated. But even to be able to evaluate the cards just by adding up their cost and the instant payout was like cool. So I think the reason I started like describing interacting with this guy yesterday was that I'm really excited that I got to learn a few, I think, important evaluating processes, like how to stop and think about what's really the value that's being passed around the table here. Like how can I break this down into numbers, into something that I can think about, talk about, and compute. So it's not just intuitive. I think intuitive has been very, very helpful. That's what I was saying with closer be market. I think I just walked into this being the key that defined everything, right? I didn't mean to do this. In the future, now I'll know how important it is to establish some baseline in an economy. Now I'll know that I need a closer be market in the economy, or that it's really useful, whether it's useful for me or for players, to identify, hey, what are things really worth around here, right? So I'll be able to apply these concepts to a bigger game. And I think it was really important for me to see it here in this small scale before getting really wild, you know, with lots of weird interactions, or like, you know, 7 currencies or whatever. But there's some complexity here. I mean, Sugar Shack is still a small game, but being that there are 3 win conditions, there are multiple options on each turn. Things are changing, and they change relatively quickly as you ramp up, as the Mayor's Favor cards come out. There's a fair amount to chew on here. You know, so it's not Uno, right? Anyway, I'm just really, really excited about this. So, Mike, I appreciate your thoughts yesterday. Yeah, I guess I got a little too enthusiastic here, kind of thinking through some of this progress that I can take a few turns, but then I'm going to need to transition away to get to those play tests in about 7 minutes. Okay, so let's see. Flapjack Feast is a pretty good deal, and the reason it's a good deal is that actually I'm gonna go for it. So I'm gonna have the first player go for it. The reason that this seems important to block, and I wonder if it would if this is like essentially like, well, you kind of have to do this, it's because the second player could fill the bottom row automatically, right? Because they have 3 cubes to start. So hopefully it's not one of those things you just kind of have to do, because Flapjack Feast is powerful, but there's a trade-off. Anyway, so I just gained 4 money there, so I'm at 7. Okay, so that's Red's turn. Now Blue's turn. So Blue can slow down just a little bit. Should Blue take first player right now? I think what Blue is going to do is take 3 money here. And take... Ooh. Yeah, I don't like. It's interesting that Flapjack Feast came out first. In that well, yeah, the first player token is now going to be over here. So I spent 1 cube for Closer to Be Market. That goes up here, and then no cubes for first player. But anyway, these guys come back. So now, I wonder if they're just going to trade now. So we got to run the yeah. I needed to run the Sugar Shack at the start. Even for me, I need to get in the habit of yeah. I need to get into this routine. Oh, cool. Yeah, I appreciate that, Mike. It was fun to dive in. I was thinking about it more yesterday, and I'll share how I would go about spreadsheet balancing in your Discord. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. How crazy is it, community? Isn't that a big deal? That's a big deal. So thanks for doing that. Thanks for spending some of your life's energy on this silly idea of making a maple syrup game. Um, okay, so I don't. This guy does not have to uh, um, ramp up production. This guy maybe should have, but let's see. So it's first player's over here now. So he is going to go and block and fill up the bottom row. So gaining 6 money. I guess the money was wrong here. Oh, no, that's right. So it's at 6. It's going to jump up to 12. Yeah, I wonder if they just trade. Well, he's got the money. Let's see. If he goes here, he gains the money for the staff upgrade. And I think takes first player back. Even though he's almost guaranteed that blue is going to go for the Flapjack Feast. Wait, see, see already, I'm forgetting to actually run the game. This is not good. Does he take? Yeah, he takes first player back. Let's just say. So Flapjack Feast, it shuts down Syrup Inc. So you can't actually, even if you have the money, you can't build a bigger turn until Flapjack Feast is gone. So red can just say goodbye. Red can say goodbye unless they just are desperate to block, which seems like it'd be sad. Because instead, what I think red can do is just go for the upgrade right here really quick. It's going to wipe out their money, though. Is that okay as a sacrifice? So let's run the whole thing here. So retrieve workers, move cubes and then refill, or it's bottle and then refill. So red cannot spend any money. I wonder if yeah, let's have blue. So blue is gonna spend 1, 2, 3 for more production, let's just say. And I think red is going to go for this upgrade. Let's give red the 10. So red upgrades the staff card and adds the third meeple. That's a big deal, right? And then blue Oh, what was I doing? Actually, so blue has to wait a turn to gain a cube. I should have had blue spend and have the extra cube for this turn so that blue could claim flapjack right away. But instead, how about this? Instead, take first player. You know what? I'm also not scrying. Okay, Market Monkey. Market Monkey seems fine. And okay, it's time to get going with virtual playtesting. So I'm just going to finish this turn. And then I think because we're getting close to the end of the round, then blue can be comfortable dropping off a cube here for pretty high value, right? Because now we'll retrieve. Two, three. So now red is ready to take this upgrade. So what is great about the Flapjack Feast is that it turns Closer Be Market into a 5. I think I'm forgetting some steps here. I'm kind of rushing a little bit. But it turns, you know, something where there's a decent payout, but it just like makes it a decent amount stronger. So like I said, with Closer Be Market, it costs 3 power to gain 3 power, but at least you got money to work with. But with the Flapjack Feast, if you send the cube down to the Flapjack Feast instead of to the Grand Office, then it becomes you net 2 additional power. So it's better than, or it's as good as like the staff upgrade for 5 cubes worth. The trade-off is that you don't get the cube to go to the Grand Office and work toward an upgrade. Anyway, that's it for me for today. I need to transition to playtesting online. So thanks for joining, and I'll see you soon.